Okay, pal, you want smash mouth power and efficiency? Then here's your starting lineup. Ford F-Series, #1 for 37 years straight. Talk about a dynasty, baby. Hey, it's game time, sports fans, at the Bill Ford Tough Sales Event.
Good evening from Legends Country Club in Stephenville, Texas, where we will be for the next hour with food specials, door prizes, and surrounded by some of the best Tarleton football fans around. I am not Casey Hogan. I am Nathan Burrell, the Director of Athletic Communications here at Tarleton State, and I'm joining fifth-year head coach Kerry Fowler for this edition of the Coach Kerry Fowler Radio Show on the Tarleton Sports Network, presented by the North Texas Ford Dealers. And, Coach, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Nate. I told Casey, I said, Nate will be fine. He always likes a mic. He's been behind many cameras.
Well, I'm as soon as this is over, I'm going back behind the camera where I belong. Coach, you went up to Midwestern State, played in the third-place game last Saturday, and came away with a 44-41 win, and a big win for the team. More of just revenge win, I guess, against Midwestern. Kind of got it the same way they got us here in Stephenville earlier in the season. Last-minute touchdown for the heartbreaker.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, Nate, that when you get an opportunity to play Midwestern, they since 2011 they had the top record in the conference, and I told our guys going into it, if we're able to win, we would tie them in the Lone Star Conference over that period, which was our senior classes, duration of their career, is to be able to tie them for the top record in the conference. And both of us are, since that date are 19-8, and it was a great win, because we've been able to beat Midwestern 3 out of the last 4 years, and not a lot of people can say that. And it's always came down to the last second, and be able to go up there and do that on their home field was a good moment for us.
Well, Coach, now that you've had a couple of days to kind of reflect on the Lone Star Conference playoff system, the last 2 weeks have been the LSC football playoffs. Just your reflections on that entire playoff system and what you thought of that.
Well, I mean, you got an opportunity to play two teams that had beat you early in the year. We came up a yard short at Commerce and to get in the championship game, and either way we were going. Any of the three that we got to play, we were. It was going to be a revenge type game. But the thing that's tough about that is, did it make it exciting at the end? Yes, but it took Texas A&M Commerce out of the national playoffs, and some of the things that I said earlier, not always am I politically correct in some of the things I say, but I'm going to say what is exactly honest. When all of a sudden you play, the top 4 teams are playing each other, you're going to eliminate the number of teams that can go to the national playoffs, and that's what we're trying to do, get in the national playoffs. But what you're doing is you're strengthening the weak, and you're weakening the strong. That's called welfare, And, they should have came in and had 1 play 8 and 7, 2 play 7, then 8, and then 3, 6 and 5 and 4, 5 and 6, and then you would have had teams with a winning record, and we would have probably got 3 teams in the national playoffs if that happened. But because we do it the opposite way, we make the stronger team schedules less. Therefore, it takes away the strength of schedule, and then you end up with 1 team in the playoffs. That's what's frustrating, and we voiced our opinion as head coaches in the conference. We collectively agree on those things, and if it had happened that way, Commerce would have been in, and possibly Midwestern, and then we would have been in a bowl game, and it's just the way the format is set up, and we got to play what's dealt to us.
And we'll talk a little bit about those NCAA playoff berths a little later in the show, but let's get back to this Midwestern win. And, Coach, from the very first play of the game, it was 2 senior linebackers making a play with Alex Anderson forcing a fumble and Mark Martinez picking it up. Take us through that play and the tone that it set for the rest of the game.
Well, it was a different play because it came in a fly motion, and they had, their number 10 that was a great player for them last year, been hurt most of the year. And he was a quarterback for the first 2 years. So we thought when he comes in the motion, we had never seen him come in motion, that they were going to run a double pass or possibly try to set something up off of that. And so we kind of backed off a little bit because they ran 2 pass routes, and then we got it covered, and Mark seen it, and he went out there, and Mark just rips the ball out of his hands. I know that he kind of goes with Alex in it, but Mark takes that ball away and recovers it. It was a great play, and I think Mark's like number 1 in the country in recovered fumbles.
I think he is.
And and that set the tone, set us up in the short field for our offense, and then we were able to capitalize and go up 7-0.
Well, your offense definitely answered the call. Zach Henshaw punched it in from 2 yards out, and then over the next two possessions, the Tarleton defense just seemed to be in complete control. They forced a turnover on downs, and then on a 3-and-out, the Midwestern had a bad snap, and Jeremy Lewis picked it up and ran in for a touchdown. As a defensive coach, you just had to be thoroughly pleased with the way your defense came out.
Well, it was a different type of game. You had a 25 to 30 mile an hour wind right down the middle of the field. So if you had the wind, you had an opportunity. But the thing the wind was blowing so bad that the passes that were thrown deep by them and us, the ball sailed so much on us. I mean, I was showing the DBs how the ball was going to carry in the pregame, and then and how it was going to knock it down, throwing into the wind. And neither team scored very much going with the wind because the balls were carrying. But we were able to get that possession. And what happened was it really wasn't a bad snap. The ball it was snapping into the wind, and it knocked the ball down. I've been up there when I coached many times, seen the punter go to kick it, and it blow the ball out, and it missed the ball. So we brought pressure. At that point, usually the first punt of the game, I don't bring pressure. You go into a return to kind of see how they're going to block it. We brought pressure because of the wind. Sure enough, it knocked it down. The ball was loose. Savion was able to kick the ball out of there, and Jeremy picked it up and run it in for a touchdown, which put us up 14-0.
And then right after that, Jabari Anderson, redshirt freshman, we'll talk about him a little later in the show, scored on a 7-yard run. And you go up 21-0, and coach, in a big rivalry game like that, you're obviously in complete control in the early part of the game. You're up 21-0. How do you keep the guys continuing to push forward and continuing to push through that, as opposed to – because a team like Midwestern is going to push back.
Oh, yeah, they're going – they were down 17-0 to Commerce and came back to win the game. And, they got great offensive players. They're very, very explosive. The thing that it was happening was a turn of the tide because – I knew we had the win to start the game, and I knew going in the second quarter that we were going to have a battle if we didn't get a first down, we didn't move the ball to midfield. I told the offense and offensive coaches that I'd plan anything backed up from the goal line to the midfield, we were going to make it 4-down territory because I didn't want to punt it into that wind. It was that much of a difference, and and we went to a fake punt. We switched everything on one side. Cody made a misread. If he'd just went right, he'd run right through the Wichita Lake out there. I mean, he'd still be running. But we went the opposite way. But, up 21-0, you have to make a decision. If you take a safety because the wind was so bad, we're punting out of our end zone. If you take a safety, you give them 2, but then you got to kick off back into that wind. So you didn't want to make that. You just almost have to. Defense almost came up with it. It was 3rd down and 8. They made a great play and made it 21-7. And then you're in a battle because now you're playing field position in a win game, we just know whoever got the momentum, and you had to find a way to stop it. They got the momentum, and then we were able to stop it in the end.
Right. Midwestern State actually, they came back. They put up 15 points in the third quarter, and we're actually leading. We'll skip ahead a little bit to the fourth quarter. They were leading 41-37, minute 20 left on the clock, and they have to kick off. They kick it, pin us on the 12. So that's 88 yards of field to go. They get an unsportsmanlike penalty, 15 yards, move us up 27. How big was that for this team, and how do you attack that as a game, the game plan, and how does that change whenever you're starting from the 27 as opposed to starting at the 12?
Well, it changed anything because they had the decision. We were throwing into the wind in the fourth quarter, and that if we're back on the 12, that changes our complete play calling. Now any drop back pass, we're throwing out of our end zone. And anything could happen at that moment. You could be, get a holding call in the end zone and get a safety. So moving that thing out to the 25, gave us a lot of comfort and gave us, where we could run our offense and open it up a little bit, not be as conservative. And, we were able to make some plays and be able to get a score out of that to move us ahead.
And on that last drive, again, throwing into the wind, Zed Warner completes 4 straight passes, including a 41-yarder to Bubba Tandy. Got the ball down to the 3, and then Henshaw punches it in. The defense held Midwestern on their last 3 plays, and we get the win. And, Coach, for the 5th time this season, your team has the ball with a chance to win on the final drive. And how did it feel to get this one against the arch rival?
Yeah, because it'd been 4 times we lost the game, a year ago, tell it to a year ago, we won those games. And, It felt good. It was, but it was a touchy situation. You get the situation where Bubba catches the ball. He makes a great catch. Tyler Wright makes an unbelievable catch on our sideline. To get that score, and then defense go out and get them stopped and force that punt. And again, they came back again and got a personal foul block in the back. And that got us out of the hole one more time. So, for us to be able to take it down and be able to win, and then the clock was, they still had time. We were, again, kicking off into the wind, and we had an onside kick there early in the game that we recovered that they said the guy, that he fair caught. And, I still looking for that fair catch, and his own player hit him, and we didn't get possession. So, because, you could kick it. Blake kicked the extra. He hadn't missed an extra point in his life. He kicked the extra point, and the wind just blew it. I mean, because at the end, it was coming down the field, but on the far side of the field, it was swirling. And he kicked it, and their kicker kicked one in the warm-ups, and I watched it, and he kicked it, and it was going right through the uprights, and it just knocked it straight to the ground. It was a touchy situation. And then, we had, for us to go down and convert and then be able to kick that extra point into the wind and go up 3, change the game because, now, they're trying to play for a field goal.
Well, we're going to take a 1-minute break, and when we return, we're going to take a look at the other games around the Lone Star Conference last weekend and take a look at the NCAA playoff bracket. So keep it right here on the Tarleton Sports Network, presented by the North Texas Ford Dealers. Back to the Lookout Bar and Grill at Legends Country Club. I am Nate Burrell filling in for Casey Hogan, and I'm joined by Texan football head coach Kerry Fowler for this week of the Coach Fowler Radio Show. We're here until 7 with discounted food, door prizes, and some of the best Texan fans in the state of Texas. So thank everyone for coming out tonight. Coach, let's take a look around the last week of the LSC playoffs, and we'll work our way towards that game in Commerce. We'll start with McMurray and Kingsville, the 7 and 8 seed. And the first career win for interim head coach Jaime Martinez. The Javelinas forced 7 turnovers and kind of dished out a little of what they've been taking all year. They had a 41-16 road win. And what does a win like that do for the program heading into the season?
Going into the offseason and going into recruiting, it gives those kids some confidence and be able to play, because they've been beat up all year, and the head coach get fired in the middle of the season. It's got to be tough on everybody, the coaches, players, and then at the end of the year to be able to pull off a win, to end it the right way. But it goes back to that playoff system I was talking about earlier. You talk about revenue. They played in front of a whopping 250 people. And, that costs a lot of money to be able to get Kingsville up there. So, that's why we've got to look at trying to pair, because you got top teams playing against people, people are going to come out and support those guys.
And, talking about Jaime Martinez and the interim – I guess the interim tag that was put on him after our game and David Callaway's firing. Now, you were in that interim position once upon a time. How is Jaime Martinez going to have to handle things going forward as far as recruiting and things like that? I mean, I know it was a difficult time for you a little bit, just being thrown into that fire a little bit.
Matter of fact, it's happened to me 4 times. I've been interim head coach 4 times in my career, all the way through signing day. I don't know. It's going to be tough on it because you don't know whether you got a job. The kids don't know who their coach is going to be. They're going to have to move pretty quickly and make a decision, on a head coach just for the stability of that program. I was in that situation up in North 281, and the only difference was we'd won the championship. And they decided to go a different direction, but that's got to be it's got to be tough on all those guys, and they just want the players, the coaches, everybody just wants the decision to be made quickly so they can move on with their lives.
Get some stability. Let's move out west. We'll take a look at that 5th place game in a rematch of the wagon wheel rivalry between Eastern New Mexico and West Texas A&M. And the Greyhounds completed the season sweep of their rivals, 55-45 with a win over the Buffs. And that was big for the Greyhounds.
It was big, but it also bounced back. West Texas played a lot better, than they did a couple weeks ago, and it was a big game, a big rivalry game between them, and for Eastern New Mexico to win 3 in a row against West Texas, that's got to be huge for Josh and the Greyhounds for going into the offseason and their recruiting in.
And Eastern New Mexico, the running back Elon Spite, new Greyhound record for him, 1,611 rushing yards, 19 touchdowns. And, Coach, just the way the game is changing, it's very rare to see a true workhorse back in football, and that's what Eastern New Mexico has had, and Spite did a very good job for him this year.
Yeah, it's unusual for kids to be able to carry the ball that many times and take the pounding that they have to. Running backs take a tremendous pounding through practice. Even when you're not tackling, you're going through a thud tempo. They're taking every hit. And for a kid to carry it that many times in the course of the year and that many yards and to stay healthy is unusual, which tells you how hard that young man has had to work in the offseason to get his body prepared for that.
Now we're going to move back east and take a look at the Angelo Texas A&M Commerce game, which ultimately came down to the championship and ultimately an NCAA playoff spot. But the Rams defeated Commerce. And, Coach, I remember when we were playing Kingsville here, after the game was over, I went down with you and sat in your office, and we kind of watched that because at the time it was very vital to us. Did the Rams the Rams almost beat them in Angelo the first time. So did this surprise you at all?
No, I mean, you look at it, you go down and we're 1 yard away from defeating Commerce, and they beat us, and then, we got the ball, and just all we got to do is just get a first down, and then had an opportunity to score late against them, and gave up a late score against Angelo. Midwestern's beat Commerce. Angelo's beat Midwest. I mean, anything can happen in that time. Everybody's beat everybody, and every game of the last few weeks has came down to the last possession. Who was going to win the football game. And the same thing happened there. Commerce was going for a 2-point conversion to tie it and put it in overtime, and the attempt failed. But there's no way, if Vegas put any odds on the games in the Lone Star Conference, there'd be a lot of people that would be broke right now.
Well, the Rams had to recover. They had to actually recover an onside kick with 43 seconds left to hold on to that win. And now with that win, they have earned the one spot from a Lone Star Conference team in the NCAA playoffs, and we'll take a look at that bracket later. But they're going to go to Michigan Tech up in I believe it's Grand Rapids, Michigan. So if they had to pick one or the other, I'm going to give you an opportunity to second guess here. If only one team was getting in, was Angelo over Commerce the right team?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to that was our argument as coaches. What does it mean to win a conference championship? Well, you got the two conference champions. Got a tournament champion. You got the two conference champions in the last 2 years that sit at home at the end of the season and go to the national playoffs. 2009, we had 4 teams go. That's the change that's happened in our league. That was our whole conversation. If you win a conference championship, then you go into a playoff, and somebody gets in. And you get knocked out because you get a loss because of that playoff. Because if either team was playing two teams that were 0-11, as long as they were Division II wins and both teams won, both teams have been in the national playoffs.
And, that's not the way it worked out. And Angelo is, as we've said, will go as the number 6 seed. Again, the way the NCAA playoffs work in football, the top 6 teams go. 6 plays the 3. 4 and 5 play each other. 1 and 2 get a bye week. So we'll take a look at the number 6, number 3. For Angelo, this is their 6th trip to the postseason and first since 2005, and first for head coach Will Wagner as the head coach, while Michigan Tech is making its 2nd ever playoff trip. The only other time for Michigan Tech was in 2004, and they lost in the first round. Angelo State is 8-2, Michigan Tech 9-1, and Coach, who are you taking in that game?
I'm always going to take the Lone Star Conference. We've only got one team in the last few years, and West Texas was our 3rd place team last year, and they made it all the way to the semifinals of the region. The year before that, they were a 2nd place team, and they won the region. So, it'll be interesting to see if they took a couple teams. I'd take, you got to go up there and play in the cold, but it doesn't matter when you're playing in the national playoffs. If you're playing, if you're playing up there against some Eskimos, it doesn't matter.
And this is
playing to win a national championship, and that's what at the end of the day, that's what you're trying to get to. They better be prepared to handle that quarterback, because they're getting ready to see a 6'6" quarterback that they can throw it and pass it, and they got a good supporting cast. They're able to run the football and throw it. Defensively, they do a lot of good things, and they're very, very sound in the kicking game. So, if somebody's not prepared to get ready for Kyle Washington in a week, it's going to be tough.
And this is not a unusual place for Will Wagner. He was at Northwest Missouri State, very well-respected program. I mean, they've been to national championships. They've done this dance before. So Will Wagner's been here, and he knows what he's doing, and that'll be the 6 and 3 seed in the NCAA bracket. The other game going on, Ohio Dominican will travel to Golden, Colorado to play Colorado Mines. And, Coach, who do you like in that game?
Ohio Dominican has got a tremendous football team. I seen them on film last year when they played West Texas. They got a great running back that is, one of the top backs in the nation. And, also that league up there is a very, very tough league too. Ohio Dominican's got a great football team.
And then at 10-1, Colorado State Pueblo is the 2 seed. They will have a bye week. And the number 1 seed is 11-0 Ferris State. And they will actually get the winner of Michigan Tech, and Angelo State on November 29th. And, Coach, what do you know about those top 2 seeds? Colorado State Pueblo did beat West Texas in the season opener.
I know. I'm good friends with the head coach at Colorado State Pueblo. Me and him have been really close friends for many years. I don't know a lot about Ferris State. You just follow the stats. I know that they've got a tremendous offense, and they've been able to put up points up there. And, they do a good job of throwing and running. And, to go through that league and playing some of the guys that they have to play and to go undefeated, and be rated up in the top 3 in the country, they got a great football program up there right now.
All right, well, Coach, that's a look at the final week around the LSC playoffs and a look at the national playoff bracket in Super Region 4. And when we return after this 1-minute timeout, the voice of the Texans, Kelton Weens, will be joined for an extended guest segment of the show by Tarleton volleyball coach Mary Schindler and seniors Katie Covell and Jasmine Brown to discuss their extraordinary run to the Lone Star Conference Championship last weekend and first ever trip to the NCAA playoffs. And, Coach, real quick before we sign off, did you get a chance to see any of those scores?
Which the
volleyball?
Our players. We were keeping up with it on the phone the way back, and our players erupted when they won it, and I know that our players are very close with our volleyball team, and they were on edge on the way back from Commerce.
Yeah, well, we'll sit down with Coach Schindler and Jasmine Brown and Katie Covell when we come back right after this. Welcome back to the Lookout Bar and Grill here at Legends Country Club. I'm Nathan Burrell, and I am now joined by Mary Schindler, the head coach of the 2014 Lone Star Conference Tournament champion Texans.
Thank you.
And seniors Katie Covell and Jasmine Brown. Girls, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, thank you.
And you kind of have to share a mic. Casey only left me 2, so that's what I got. Coach, first, I guess just take us through the weekend. For those of you that were not paying attention, I guess, 2 people that weren't paying attention, it seemed like everybody here in Stephenville was just focused on your run through the playoffs. We opened the weekend with a sweep of Kingsville, and having swept Kingsville in the first 2 rounds, I know you don't like playing a team 3 times in one season.
Absolutely not.
But still, that was a tough match for you.
It was a tough match, and surprisingly after that match, I didn't realize how many people were following. It wasn't until Friday night that I became acutely aware of how many people were following our success down there. So it was exciting. But Kingsville they're super athletic, like we told the girls, and I was anxious about that match. Like I said, playing a team 3 times, and they're scary because you don't know. You don't know what they're going to do when they step out on the floor. I know what we're capable of doing, and I know what we plan to do, but that X factor of Kingsville was.
And it's not like Kingsville came in with like a 7-12 record. I mean, they were over 500. I believe they were 16-15. They were playing well, and they were a good team. And Katie, how do you go into a game like that, knowing that most likely West Texas is going to be on the other side, and how do you keep your focus against a team like Kingsville that you've already swept twice when you know what's waiting on the other side?
Well, I know Coach didn't like playing a team three times, but honestly, if we've swept a team, we come into that like, okay, we're here for business. Like this, we're not worried about it. I know that's a little different for her end, but definitely when we know WT's waiting at the other end, we kind of want to set the pace. So when we went into that game, we were like, okay, guys, let's get through this because tomorrow's really tomorrow's the day. So.
Okay, and then again, second round, WT is waiting right there, and WT has won the season series, beat us both times. And Coach, what did you tell the girls before that game?
What I tell them before every game. We don't vary much, and that we want to win every game we play, and we understand that every game we play is there's going to be a competition, there's going to be a battle, and that we want to perform our best, and that we can't worry about who it is on the other side of the net. And I know that it is against them. That is not what they're thinking. They look at me like sure, but we've beaten West Texas once before, and we talked a lot about We know how good we are in our gym every day, and we know what we're doing in our gym every day, and we know what kind of players we have in our gym every day. And we wanted to translate that and show everybody else what kind of players and team we had.
And for those of you that don't know, WT had won 8 consecutive LSC tournament titles. And to go in there,
9
consecutive.
I didn't know that. But.
8 in their facility. 1 was at Angelo. So eight consecutive tournament titles in their facility. And Jasmine, JB. So I don't think I've called you Jasmine in like 4 years. JB, what was the thought of the players? I mean, I know what Coach Schindler's thinking before those games, but what was the thought in the locker room before y'all took the court among the players?
Oh, we absolutely won because we knew that that's where we wanted to be at the end of the game. We knew that we wanted to be on the floor screaming like we had just won the national championship. So we just believed that from 1 to 16, and we did it.
Okay, and in that WT match, you win the first 2 sets, and how were y'all feeling after those first 2 sets? I mean, Katie, I'll let you answer this one. You go up 2-0 against WT in their facility, in the box, which is a tough place to play. I mean, it's probably an understatement.
Well, we've done it before. I don't know.
You have been there before.
Yes. Well, not in that order. But the last time we played them, when we play WT, their house is kind of like ours. They bring a crowd, and they get a little crazy. I mean, from up top to down on the floor, they're screaming at us the whole time. So when after that second game, it was mighty quiet in that place. I will say that. And, we just knew it. We were like, you know what? We've locked it in now. I mean, they're a competitive team, and they're going to be hard to sweep. And so after that second game, we just knew, okay, this is our game. It's not going to be easy from here, but we've definitely won the game. So,
we went up 2-0 in the match over WT, and then WT came roaring back, won the next 2. And then in the 5th set, WT up 11-5. Coach, what was your brilliant coaching wisdom?
Oh, I had stuff.
She did.
I'm not repeating on radio, but I had stuff.
What?
No, I'm really. When I told him the same thing, I'm smiling, and JB looks at me, and I'm like, "We got it, guys." I think mostly just understanding that we'd scored that many points on a team before on West Texas in the 3rd set. When we started way down. And we had to make it a contest a little bit. And so knowing that, we've been in those situations, and my big philosophy right now is this is what we came for, is a competition. There is not one team that we're going to play, from starting that tournament on, that is going to hand us 25 points. And I think that as long as we don't panic and understand that every point's going to be a battle, and they're going to score because they are good, that, we can do the same thing. And they held composure. Wow, did they hold composure. At 11-5, that's easy. It doesn't matter who you're playing to kind of, maybe next time, And they didn't at all. It was okay, let's try to get this point. And obviously, yes, there were some other things going on when West Texas panicked because we were playing. They hadn't been in that situation before. They're a team that once they've kind of put a nail in your coffin, a deep breath, if you will. And it was exciting to watch us battle back. And it just looked like it was the way it's supposed to be. I don't feel like there was ever a time when I was like, oh, no, just because of the way they handled themselves.
Well, Coach, y'all scored 10 of the next 12 points to win. But before that last point, I know, when I talked to you on the phone for a quote in the recap, you talked about how quiet that gym got. Kind of take us through that moment. Girls, did y'all hear it on the floor, how quiet that gym was and just how intense it was? What was going through your mind when you heard that?
You could literally hear like a pin drop. But going through my mind, just like I said, we believed it. We knew she was going to hit that ball out almost like we knew that last point was going to happen. So it's pretty cool. Well,
WT hit the last ball out, and we moved on to our first ever Lone Star Conference Championship where we faced Angelo. And, in a game like that where you just come off beating, the tournament host, basically the Lone Star Conference champions had not lost a conference game all season. How do you get them back and get that focus retooled to go out and play a tough Angelo team?
How do I get my focus back, or how do I get their focus back?
Both of them.
I think that the biggest thing, when we talked about is we didn't come to beat West Texas. We came to win. in the tournament. And that was the objective. And we knew that, I knew, anybody who looked at the bracket knew that it'd be West Texas in the second matchup, and that was going to be obviously a huge, emotional and physical taxing match. And it was, but it was exciting. And it felt like, we'd been preparing for it all year. And so when it was over, we talked about, like I said, beating West Texas is great, but we don't want to be that one-hit wonder, and there's more to do. And we already talked previously about winning the big game, and that obviously was a big match. Like I said, the tournament wasn't over, and I think they had a chip on their shoulder from a couple weeks ago, when we had lost to Angelo in their place in 5, and knowing that we're capable of winning. We're capable of beating a lot of teams. It's about performing, and they were able to do that, and it was exciting. And
then in the tournament championship, Tarleton, Angelo State. Angelo State actually took a 2-1 match lead over Tarleton, but Tarleton did not waver, continued to fight. And Katie, kind of talk about, in your mind, where do you think that momentum shifted in that Angelo game?
Well, starting out, we were super just composed. Like it was a different pace of game for us. It was almost like we already knew what was going to happen. We just had to kind of take care of business. And once we sealed that first game, we kind of knew, okay, here we go. It was just a different game than our WT game. Once they got those 2 games on us, then we kind of, again, we can't repeat some of the things said, but we definitely we kind of
we're all positive.
It's team secrets. Team secrets. We
definitely.
In case Metro State's listening.
Yes, we definitely realized exactly what we were there for. Reminding ourselves, y'all, this is the championship. This isn't, another game. And, of course, getting that sweet revenge on them from the last 5-set game was definitely in the back of our heads. So we just kind of kicked it into another gear, if you will. And pretty much because that last set, we kind of whooped them a little bit. And we were just, kept our eye on the prize and finished.
Okay. And then y'all come home and we have a tournament selection watch party. And obviously, you guys have got the automatic berth by winning the Lone Star Conference tournament, so you knew you were going to be in there. Metro State. Coach, I'm sure you've watched enough film over Metro State today. What can you tell us about your opponent from the RMAC? Again, we will play Friday at noon from Grand Junction, Colorado. Colorado Mesa won their tournament, and we'll host the entire NCAA South Central Regional. And, Coach, Metro State, what do you got for us?
Listen, they're really well coached. They have a fast offense, some tremendous players that stand out, obviously. But some of that is, they've got a lefty on the right side. We've seen that all year. We're fortunate enough to have one of those on our coaching staff and on our roster that the girls get to compete against, and so that's going to be nice. I feel like there's going to be some good matchups in our favor, and obviously, it's a different. We haven't seen the RMAC this year. And so I think we're looking forward to it. Honestly, with this group, I think that, they understand we're getting better still, and that they're excited to play. They're excited to compete with whomever it is. But just getting the opportunity to play somebody like Metro, versus another West Texas, versus another Angelo, and going in there with whoever it is, whatever they have.
Well, Coach, congratulations on your Lone Star Conference Tournament Championship. Girls, congratulations on extending your season.
Thank you.
And we'll look forward to hearing the radio call. These games will be broadcast from the NCAA tournament by Kelton Weens. So fans, be sure to tune in. Friday at noon, the Texans will play Metro State out of the RMAC, the 3 versus the 6 seed from Grand Junction, Colorado. When we come back, Kelton Weens will take over the broadcast as he is rejoined by Carrie Fowler to recap the 14 season, preview the offseason and recruiting needs. You're listening to the Carrie Fowler Radio Show, brought to you on the Tarleton Sports Network, brought to you by North Texas Ford Dealers.
And welcome back to the Coach Carrie Fowler Radio Show. I'm Kelton Waynes, joined by the fifth-year head coach once again. Carrie Fowler, Coach, how about those audio highlights, man? They got me pretty excited.
Casey gets fired up, doesn't he? He does. He's fun to listen to. He said I have him send them to me every week so I can listen to him. He does a great job.
Well, Coach, I'd just kind of like to go through and just recap the 2014 season. Week 1, you had a 31-27 win at West Texas A&M. Week 2, a 37-31 loss at AT&T Stadium against Florida Tech. That was a tough one for you, Coach. 23-27 was the loss the next week to Midwestern State. 53-25, a loss to Texas A&M Commerce. Then you get back in the winning column, an 80-14 win against Texas A&M Kingsville, 59-42 win at Eastern New Mexico, 64-7 win at McMurray University, 34-31 loss against Angelo State, a 56-49 loss at Commerce, and finally a 44-41 win at Midwestern State. Are there any of those games that you that stick out in your mind as either winnable or losable?
No, 4 games there. You had an opportunity to win them. Against Florida Tech, we just didn't. Offensively, we didn't produce there in the end. We gave up a late touchdown. We fumbled it and threw it an interception in the last 2 times we had it, and it was a game that we should have won. And Florida Tech went on and it was very successful. They got beat this past week by 2 points against Valdosta, who's in the playoffs, and they had a successful season. But that's a game we let go. We should have had it. We kind of they scored some points early. We came back, went up at halftime. We're leading there late in the ball game, and we let it get away. The next week against Midwestern, we get the ball with 3 minutes to go in the game, and if we get a first down, game's over, and we don't. We have to kick out of our end zone, and we kick in the kick returner gets a good return, gets it to the 25, and they score there. At that time, I think we're 23-17, something like that, and they scored there at the end to beat us at a game that we had won in our hands, and we weren't able to convert. And then Texas A&M Commerce, we got on our heels early and made a lot of mistakes and got behind, and we were fighting an uphill battle that night. And then the Angelo game was a tough one to swallow. We had that game won. We get the ball back with 2 minutes to go in the game, and we're not able to convert offensively. Defensively, we had to kick out of our end zone again. They get great field position. They score. Defense couldn't come up with a stop, just like it was identical to the Midwestern game. And then we get the ball back and drive it down and had 2 opportunities to score again and weren't able to convert. And then, Commerce was just a hard fart, all the way through. 2 teams battled it and made plays in the kicking game and defense and offense. And we come, 1 yard short. Actually, after the ball would have been spotted, been a half yard short. And, you look at it, you're about 4 plays away from being 9-1, and that's the difference. A year ago we win the championship, but we won those games. There hasn't been a game in the top 5 teams in the league that we've played over the last 3 years that the game hadn't come down to the last second. And and we've won some and we lost some. This year we lost a whole lot more than we won, and that's the situation to put us. That's why it was good to win this one. Again, we had our 5th opportunity to win the football game with a minute to go in the game, and we were able to pull it out.
Coach, that 3-game win streak right there in the middle of the season, Tarleton far and away the best team in the Lone Star Conference. That's got to make you look forward to next season.
It does, but a lot of times, I always look at it this way: if you look at all the wins you had, yeah, you can be positive in it, but you got to look at the losses and find out, engage where you are as a team, as a man, as a unit, and figure out the needs that you have to have. That's why when I'm hitting recruiting, you look at the players that are coming back. I feel like we have a tremendous redshirt freshman class that I'm redshirting right now. But I got to look at the needs that we have, and can those players help us beat? We got to look at recruiting guys that can come in here and help us beat Texas A&M Commerce, Angelo State, and Midwestern State. So we played well during those times, but that's the bottom of the league. You're supposed to win those games.
Right.
We got to be able to win against the top opponents, and it shows you where you're at. You're very, very, very close. And we do have a lot of players coming back, but you're very close, and we got to take that in the off season. It's unfinished business, and we got to figure out what we got to do in the off season to mentally be tough enough to win the games that we won a year ago.
Well, Coach, let's talk about that offseason. First, let's talk about quarterback. You basically have everybody back, and now you set up an interesting battle between Zed Warner and Colin Strahan there at quarterback. Talk about that one.
Yeah, it's good. 2 great players. The thing about it is, Colin is a runner and can throw. Zed is a drop back passer. The interesting battle is going to be this. I got a true freshman that's going to push him. We were very close. To playing, a freshman to start the season, and it was a tremendous battle. They're all great players. They understand the game. They've grown up in these type of systems. So it's going to be you got 3 players that I feel like at quarterback that we can win with, and it'll start there in the spring and battle it out through the spring and through 2 days on who's going to be the starting quarterback.
Coach, then you move back to the backfield. You've got Zach Hinshaw, Cody Berkshire, and Jabari Anderson all coming back. You should be loaded behind the quarterback next year.
Yeah, we are. You got Glenn Roberts, who's a great back that played some for us as a kick returner and was one of the top kick returners in the league. I also have a true freshman that run 10-1-5 at the state meet that, Daniel McCants is going to be a really, really good player. He gave our defense fits on the scout team this year, as did most of our offensive scout team. We got a group of receivers there too. They're going to push some guys that are playing right now for some starting positions. I'm very, very excited about our redshirt freshman class right now. And I told them the other day after the last practice, I said, "You're not a redshirt anymore. Now you're fighting to compete for a job." So, we've got everybody back in the backfield. So, that looks very promising for us next year and for years to come because you only have one senior with Zach in there. The rest of them are still underclassmen.
Coach, moving on to wide receiver, you lose Clifton Rhodes III. Talk about him a little bit, but you've also got Tyler Wright, Bubba Tandy, Nardi Myers, and Jamarcus Durst coming back for you.
Yeah, we do. You got some great, you got great players coming back. Some guys that traveled in and play a lot for us. Casey Fornes, we really need a breakout year for him this year, and he has to have a really big spring for us. Dominique Martin, made a couple plays against Midwestern the first game and scored a touchdown. He's been here for 3 years, and I think he's on the edge of becoming a really good player for us. As a matter of fact, Jamarcus Durst, this morning I moved Jamarcus Durst to safety, so he'll play on the defensive side of the ball, and that was by his request, and he was a kid that could play wide receiver and defensive back, and getting him back, moving him to the defense. I look for some big things from him. Bubba and Nardi coming back, you got 2 great players, and then you got a guy that really stepped up with Tyler Wright. But I look for a breakout year with Nardi and with Bubba. When I look at the stats, and Nardi has 67 catches and Bubba has 41, but Bubba has more yards than Nardi. We got to find the ball. We got to balance that out a little bit. There's about a 35 different catch ratio there on the right side as the left side, and at this point, I don't look at stats a lot, but stats don't lie. Bubba averages over 20 yards every time he catches the football, and we've got to be able to get him the football more.
Coach, you and I both know your offensive success starts up front with your offensive line. You're losing Lucas Love and Will McClain. Talk about those guys.
2 great players. Lucas have a chance to play beyond. Getting a lot of big NFL scouts are looking at him, and they're looking at him at center. Lucas could have played center for us, and as a freshman, we played him in there a little bit. Not in games, but in practice, and he can do a lot of different things. We just didn't have anybody at tackle that could beat him out. And we had to keep him there. Losing Will McClain is going to hurt, but Robert Hinton has been banged up this year. Started the first half of the season, started all of last year for us. Coming back at center with Nick Perez and Cody Travis, and then you got Latham Johnson and Corin Brooks that are really good players. And then there's a couple of freshmen. Chris Gibbons is a redshirt freshman that I expect great things out of. He's a 6'7" kid that's he's about 280 pounds, and then. And Stuart Cram is about the same size, and those guys should be able to step up and play and help us next year there also.
Coach, it's interesting on your offense. Mostly everybody's coming back, but where you're really losing a lot of guys is defense. Defensive line, you're losing Anthony Gonzalez, Ronnie Famoa, Juan Gonzalez, Brandon Johnson, but you got Damian Ward, Jared Thames, and Chase Barnado.
Yeah, we do, and then we had some guys that were banged up in there, and really, this year, when I'm looking at the recruiting end of it and going out, we were heavy offensively. We had more scholarships on the offensive side than we did. Division II, it's hard to balance sometimes, but I knew we had to score. But we had guys on the defensive side of the ball that logged a lot of minutes. We had a lot of injuries on defense this year. You got Jared Thames coming back, Chase Varnado. Chase played some Mike linebacker for us Saturday. He may stand up and play on his feet. He did a great job, and we're excited about what the future holds with him. And then, we got 2 guys that, actually 3 freshmen that a redshirt and a sophomore there that can play for us inside. And, it's one of those deals. They could have played for us this year, but we decided to redshirt them and be able to, keep them for the next, one of them for 3 years and 2 of them for 4. So, defensive tackle position I'm not worried about. Where we've got to really recruit, and we've got to get some depth at the defensive end.
Linebackers, you lose Alex Anderson, Mark Martinez, great player, and I'm going to throw the rover position in here as well. You lose John Blair.
Yeah, you lose John Blair, and John's been, was a great role player for us this year and played some, but was a tremendous special teams player. Mark Martinez, a 4-year starter. He's going to be hard to replace. Alex has been here for 5 years and battled injuries, but had a tremendous senior year, which really excites me for that young man and to be able to finish his career off like that. But we had Jake Blumstrom, who was a really good player for us that was hurt all year. He was a starter coming into two-a-days, and he was a freshman. He was the runner-up for the Greater Houston Defensive Player of the Year in Houston, and played at Katy, and he's going to be a great player. He didn't play very much at all, and him coming back. We lost Cody Marley, who transferred from Kansas State. That we lost him at Florida Tech. That was really going to play and was playing a lot the first 2 games or 2.5 games there. Getting him back with 2 more years of eligibility left for him and forward with Jake. We like that. Anthony Lee played a lot of football for us this year. Savion Washington. Dakota Heskew. There's some guys. We got some guys that played. The injury bug hit us there with our backup linebackers. Is why you seen Mark and Alex had to carry the most of all the plays, is because we had 2 that went down with injury this year.
Finally, Coach, defensive back, you lose some really special players: DeAndre Locke, Devin Figures, and Charles Moore.
Yeah, and we felt that this Saturday. With DeAndre Locke not being able to play, we're going to miss him. I haven't taken the field many games without Mark Martinez and Charles Moore, and I think Charles Moore's an All-American. The guy leads he's tops in the country in interceptions, and the things that he does off the field has been tremendous. But I do, the safety position was really a tough situation. I don't think that, if you're not inside the program on a day-to-day basis, you don't realize the player that we lost this year that really hurt us was when we lost Chance Wallace. That was our weak side safety that started. Charles was our free safety, and Devin Figures was a corner. And then we had Ty Brantz that we thought was going to be the backup to them, and we lost him to an injury, and he's had some concussion issues and is not going to be able to play the game of football any longer. So that hurt us. But I got, again, we keep talking about my freshman class. I've got a bunch of them that could play, and I kept them redshirted. We only traveled with 6 DBs last week for 5 positions. So, we were kind of rotating them. Jeremy Lewis has played a bunch for us. Brandon Moore started several different positions for us. You got Robert Atkinson that, when healthy, has started every game for us, and Keenan Blair. We'll look for Keenan to really improve. He really played before he was supposed to. He's a very talented young man. And then I have 2 freshmen behind them, Barry Stribling and Deontay Bell, that will push for the starting position. And they're bigger corners. They're 6'1", and I look for great things out of those guys.
Well, Coach, thanks for the update on your team, and we look forward to next year for sure.
Well, I appreciate it.
That's going to do it for this segment of the Coach Kerry Fowler Radio Show. When we come back in 1 minute, we will wrap up the final edition and talk to the coach one last time. This is the Tarleton Sports Network, presented by the North Texas Ford Dealers. Welcome back to Legends Country Club. Kelton Wayne's Coach Kerry Fowler here. The final segment of the final show of the Coach Kerry Fowler Radio Show. First, we're going to give away some door prizes. Brittany Haley. There are 6 T-shirts and a free round of golf provided by Legends Country Club.
You don't have us? You can't hear me?
Brittany Haley. Do we have a Brittany Haley? Right there. Yeah. All right, Brittany. Deline Hyatt. Deline Hyatt, congratulations.
Her son is one of those red shirt freshmen I'm talking about. Nick Presswood is going to be a great player for us.
Charles Velasquez.
I think they got...
Michael Wyndham. All right.
Hey, I appreciate it, Plowboys. Every week y'all came. I appreciate it so much.
Trevor Berkshires. Yeah.
Hey, y'all know y'all can come get some free goodies too, huh?
Lee Smith, the final T-shirt. Lee Smith, all right. And then John Woolley, the free round of golf provided by Legends Country Club. John Woolley, all right. Congratulations to all our door prize winners. Want to keep you up to speed on things happening in Tarleton State Athletics. The next broadcast of Tarleton Texan and Texan basketball is this Saturday as the 1-1 Texans take on Texas Wesleyan at 5 p.m. The National Farm Life pregame show begins at 4:45 with the coach Misty Wilson pregame interview, starting lineups, and much more. Then the number 12 ranked and 2-0 Tarleton Texans take on Dallas Christian at 7 o'clock. Texan Volleyball will open their first ever trip to the NCAA tournament with a noon match against number 3 Metro State in Grand Junction, Colorado on Friday. The National Farm Life pregame show will start 15 minutes before the first serve, and the Coach Mary Schindler pregame interview, starting lineups, and more. You can listen to all broadcasts of Tarleton Athletics on the Tarleton Sports Network flagship station KTRL 90.5 FM or on the World Wide Web at www.tarletonsports.com/listen live. Best of luck to the Tarleton Texan and Texan cross-country teams as they travel to Denver for this week's NCAA South Central Regional Championships on Saturday, November 22nd. Remember to visit tarletonsports.com to stay up to date on the Texans and Texans. Listen to the live radio broadcasts and watch live webcasts of selective sports for no charge and much more. Once again, we'd like to thank Texas Bank and Cross Timbers Orthopedics for sponsoring the Coach Kerry Fowler radio show all season long. Thanks to John Treyweek and the staff at Legends Country Club for hosting the show this year. They did a great job at every show this season, and we appreciate their hard work. Folks, give them a round of applause for being such great hosts here. Thanks to Tyrone Dotsie back at the KTRL studio for producing the broadcasts all season long. And most importantly, thank you to you all for listening and for your support of Tarleton Athletics. Coach, I know you have a long list of people you'd like to thank, and right now it's your time.
Yeah, I just think, always, Texas Bank and, I told Bill Evans the other day, I said, I appreciate you supporting it, but I don't like my players coming to you all the time. But I appreciate, not only with Bill, but Bill goes to every game with us and is there on the sideline. And, in Texas Bank for many years has supported the radio show, and we appreciate it. And I really, really appreciate the new venue out here, and with John Treyweek and his staff at Legends, I appreciate that so much. And the support, the Plowboys, and all the Texan fans that come out and support us. And the last thing I appreciate that senior class that has been with me. There was 10 of them that have been with me 4 years, 5 years, and 2 of them for 6 years. And that was a hard Saturday to say goodbye to great men that all of them are going to graduate and go on and be great fathers, great husbands, and great citizens. And we continue to support the Tarleton State football program. And it was fun coaching those guys, but look forward to hitting the recruiting. It's my time to compete now. Those guys compete on Saturday. Now it's my time to compete and try to go out and bring in some recruits that can help us win. I'm not looking at the Lone Star Conference. The same thing I'll tell you now, we're 4 plays away from that championship that I don't care that we win. I want to win the national championship, and, that's what we're going to be fighting for.
Coach, one piece of advice for everybody that's really going to shock everybody about Tarleton State next year.
I think that you'll start. It's going to be the consistency. And that's what we're going to work hard on in the off season, and relax. I told the kids Saturday. I said, one time my brother told me, he says, Kerry, you need to stop and smell the roses. Sometimes you work all the time. And I told him, I said, I tell you what, I'll grab them and I'll run, or I'll order them and send them to my house, and I'll smell them when I get home, because I know one thing, and that's hard work. And I'm gonna drill that into these kids that we're gonna understand. We relaxed too much this year. We had chances that we were up on people, and we relaxed in all phases of the game and allowed people to come back into it. I told them, in life you can't ever smell the roses, because there's going to be somebody to catch you. And, that's what we're going to work hard on. This offseason is going to be very, very tough on them. I'm going to find out who is mentally tough and who's going to do it the way that it's supposed to be done, because I do know how it's supposed to be done, and we've done it before. And I've been taught by great men and great coaches that you watch them on Sundays and late in the SEC and the Big 12 that have taught me how to coach and run a program, and it's going to be very, very tough. And they've accepted the challenge, and they understand that, because they understand what it means to be 5-5, and it's not what we're planning on doing, and we're gonna hone in and start fighting back for that national championship.
Well, Coach, thanks very much for your time, and good luck this offseason on recruiting and preparing for the 2015 season.
Thanks, Kelton. I appreciate it.
That's going to do it for this 11th edition of the Coach Kerry Fowler Radio Show. For the head coach of the Tarleton Texans, I'm Kelton Wayne saying so long from Legends Country Club in Stephenville. Until next time, have a great week, everyone, and I will talk to you on Friday from Grand Junction.